One of the defenses that I heard about Donald Trump before he was elected this go round was he'd say something particularly dangerous and his defenders would go, nah, he doesn't mean it. He's silly. That's just how Trump talks. When he would say, it would be kind of cool to target media outlets I don't like, they would go, no, he's just sort of venting. This is how he processes his emotions. And I would say, I don't think that's an acceptable way for candidates to process their emotions. Those instincts that would cause that to leave his mouth is kind of concerning. And again, they'd say, no, he's not serious. Trust me, once he's actually elected, it's not going to be about retribution. It's not going to be about going after media outlets he doesn't like. It's going to be about uplifting all people, whatever they would say. Okay, well, he held a press conference at Mar-a-Lago, and one of the things he spent quite some time talking about is how ABC's just the beginning. He's going to be going down the list of outlets he doesn't like and trying to induce pain. While you watch this, please do click the subscribe button if you appreciate this show.
I want to expand on the defamation lawsuits. Could you see moving that to other people with individual platforms, social media influencers, people that...
Or newspapers, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I do. I think you have to do it because they're very dishonest. We need a great media. We need a fair media. We need, it's very important. And we need borders. We need walls, but we need borders and we need fair elections.
And then later on, do you remember that Ann Seltzer poll that ended up being wildly incorrect, but was a big story that right before the election, this Iowa poll made it seem like Harris could win Iowa when that's not something we expected. It ended up being very incorrect, as sometimes polls are. But Trump says the fact that a newspaper would dare to report on a notable poll means they deserve his ire.
I see others. I have a few others that I'm doing. I'm going to, as an example, I'm doing this not because I want to. I'm doing this because I feel I have an obligation to. I'm going to be bringing one against the people in Iowa, their newspaper, which had a very, very good pollster who got me right all the time. And then just before the election, she said I was going to lose by 3 or 4 points, and it became the biggest story all over the world because I was going to win Iowa by 20 points. The farmers loved me, and I loved the farmers. And it was interesting the way she did it. She brought it down 2 weeks before. She said I was going to only win by 4. That was a big story. But that was good because she brought it down from like 22 points to 4 or whatever the number was, way up. Way up, an easy win. We never even thought to go there. I respect them, I love them, and they understand there's no reason to go there because...
So there he's saying he's also planning on bringing a lawsuit against Ann Seltzer or the Associated newspaper in Iowa because she did a poll and it was reported on. Now, I'll address comprehensively in a different segment the absurdity of this ABC settlement. There does, without adding any hyperbole, a culture of cowardice in too much of the media right now. And the fear of Trump's retribution is causing behavior that is very incomprehensible. And I do believe, but I'll again make my case a little bit more later on, that the ABC settlement is a part of that. Because of the reasons I'll get into, I almost started arguing it. But because there's so much more, let's proceed further. Whenever he said on True Social, and I've screamed about it ever since, the government should come down hard on MSNBC, and people would go, oh, you're bringing that up too much. It's not a joke. It's not hyperbole. He told us, people voted for it, and now he's going to do it. And that goes against such a core principle of America. You know, I've been seeing these clips of MAGA folks saying, now we can be patriotic again. And it's heartbreaking because it proves what I was saying, which is that they only feel like patriotism is relevant or is appropriate in the case that you win. Whereas I have the same patriotism regardless of if my side wins or not. And one of the things that that's premised on is the idea that that patriotism comes from a dedication not to a person, but to an idea and to our constitutional democratic republic. And that seems to be the split, right? It's okay for Trump to do these things and violate such a core American principle of freedom of the press, for him to make these promises of who he's going to go after next, for it not just to be private lawsuits, but he has said the government should get involved in targeting these outlets and getting them off the air, because the patriotism no longer is about the American idea, but instead about Trump. Then moving on from that subject, you have Trump talking about his favorite person on the planet, Xi Jinping of China.
Have you had conversations with Venezuela?
You know, because China and the United States can together solve all of the problems of the world, if you think about it. So it's very important. And, you know, he was a friend of mine. I mean, he was here for a long time, right in that spot, except sitting in a very comfortable chair. He wasn't standing like you are. But we spent hours and hours talking. And, you know, he's an amazing guy.
Have you spoken to Venezuela?
The press hates when I say that, but he's an amazing person.
Have you spoken to anyone in Venezuela, sir?
And that we've heard a bunch of times. It's just insane that he speaks more positively of authoritarians abroad than our allies. But to go back to the leading part of this segment, it's interesting. I just got a CNN alert. Breaking news. Trump says he's a big believer in polio vaccines. As an ally of his HHS pick, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. has engaged in efforts to provoke them. The breaking news about this press conference isn't about him fixating for a period of time on how he's going to harm the outlets he doesn't like. And imagine the reporters in the room. It's just a frightening environment we're in. And then let me ask to the Trump supporters who feel like this is unfair. If he actually had it as his top priority to lower costs, which obviously isn't the case given his tariff plan, or make your life better in some way, why is it even a thing that he's focused on, that he's going to figure out who's next, who should be punished next? And to make such a deranged point as someone should be punished for doing a poll. And he'll use his wealth and influence, potentially presidential power, to punish people who aren't quote unquote fair, which he means pro him. A really frightening time to be talking about politics. Then we get into his discussion of his defense secretary nominee, Pete Hegseth, who has all of these allegations and has, it seems, a really tough road ahead to be confirmed. And here, Trump indicates where his mind's at.
And, you know, Pete Hegseth gave up a lot because he was going big places in Fox, big places, a lot of money. And he didn't even hesitate. When I said, do you want to do this? He said, absolutely. I said, you know, if it doesn't work out, you'll never have the opportunity that you have right now in terms of the world of entertainment or business, whatever you want to call it. You'll never have that opportunity.
Don't you love that he calls working at Fox News entertainment? Not the world of news, the world of entertainment. That's correct. Good assessment.
Opportunity again. In fact, it could be just the opposite because it's nasty out there. He said, I don't care. I have to do it for my country. He gave up a tremendous amount. If this didn't work, it would be a tragedy. Because, but that's what he loves. He loves the military. I never talked to him about anything else. He'd talk about the military. He'd come to see me. And, you know, Pete...
Yeah, and he went on, we were watching it live, so that clip ends there, but he goes on to just talk about how he was just really loved seeing Pete Hegseth on Fox, and there's such great chemistry on the weekend show, and you heard there he has such a great history. So, and this is what I find really interesting, Hegseth failing to be confirmed, if that ends up happening, would be a tragedy. Trump doesn't argue for America or for the military, because Hegseth would be such a great leader for our military, so it would be a tragedy if he couldn't be confirmed. The only place that Trump can go in his head is it would be a tragedy for Hegseth's income. Because he could have been making so much money, but now that might be messed up by the fact this happened. And that tells you a lot about Donald Trump. His argument is very lightly premised on how great Hegseth would be for the military, but instead about how much Hegseth talks about the military to Trump, how much Trump likes Hegseth on TV, and how Hegseth deserves this opportunity because he said yes very quickly when Trump offered it to him, and Hegseth could have been making so much money on Fox News, which if this doesn't work out for him, he's going to be able to do anyways. Oh, what a sacrifice. Then we do get to vaccines, the subject of that CNN headline. The headline from CNN was not about how Trump did play coy and did again go, well, something autism, pretending like he doesn't understand. Maybe he doesn't, that there's so much research out there that answers the question that he says we should be able to ask. You can ask it, but then you can also answer it because of how many people have attempted to do so. And that was a really scary part of this as well. We'll go through a few clips.
Can I ask, just clearly, do you believe there's a connection between vaccines and autism? Do you believe there's a link?
Well, I don't look. Right now, you have some very brilliant people looking at it. I had dinner the other night with the head of Pfizer, the head of Eli Lilly, and RFK, as you know, and Oz. And we had, and other people within the administration that are involved, the medical. And we're looking to find out,
There is this catch-all. Is that the right term? There's this really easy out for folks who question a medical consensus, which is, why can't I ask questions? But can we just look into it? What are you saying? We shouldn't look into these things? And the reason they go back to that so much, which is why Trump picks up on it, is because it sounds really harmless. And it sounds like, yeah, wait, why can't we? We might as well look into everything. Which is true in a vacuum. But they often go, I'm just asking questions, as a way of hiding, Trojan horsing an answer or an assertion that they have, but they're too scared to just assert it boldly. And they also never seem to engage with how many times that question had been asked and what we learned from the investigations into such a question. So with the autism vaccine thing, so thoroughly debunked, it's actually stunning. And they could just go read up on some of that. But instead, he throws this out, sort of like how he just spitballed on, I don't know, could we put disinfectant inside the body? Could we stick a UV light right up our ass? And then when people get mad at him for saying that, because people start experimenting, he goes, I was just wondering. Instead of asking that question before he goes in front of a microphone, getting experts to explain to him why maybe that's not the best course of action, and not putting it out to a bunch of people who might be misled. So then when it comes to vaccines, there's already a bunch of people being misled and then being vaccine skeptics and not taking them, and then children vaccination rates go down, and then these diseases spread, all because there's a bunch of people asking questions that we could just get an answer to, because we have one a bunch of times. Then more.
Can I follow up on Robert Kennedy? He's on the Hill today. He's meeting with senators. What do you say to people who are worried that his views on vaccines will translate into policies that will make their kids less safe?
No, I think he's going to be much less radical than you would think. I think he's got a very open mind, or I wouldn't have put him there. He's going to be very much less radical. But there are problems. I mean, we don't do as well as a lot of other nations, and those nations use nothing. And we're going to find out what those problems are. And
I have no idea what he means by use nothing. That's, if he's talking about vaccines, that just is not true at all. What? And then he says something that could be so disastrous for American public health that I honestly hope he's spitballing and this isn't actually indicative of a plan he has.
Thanks, President Trump. What about the polio vaccine?
Well, I'm a big believer in it, and I think everything should be looked at, but I'm a big believer in the polio vaccine, the Salk vaccine.
Do you think schools should mandate vaccines? Do you think schools should mandate vaccines?
I don't like mandates. I'm not a big mandate person. So, I was against mandates. Mostly Democrat governors did the mandates, and they did a very poor thing.
Yeah, so then he just goes to a keyword association, which is that he knows that his supporters don't like the COVID-19 mandates that weren't really mandates, but were guidelines related to things that they think are mandates. And then that connects to his talking point about how I am okay with the COVID-19 vaccine, but I'm against mandates. Is that the good middle ground? Because I'm scared of my own followers. And he didn't really, I don't think he's on the record based on what I heard there. I think he just sort of heard mandate. And when I'm not a mandate guy, I don't think there's a plan there to try to eliminate. But maybe there is, because he said a lot on the campaign trail. Regardless, if there's a plan, and I know RFK Jr. would love this, to eliminate the requirements for school-age children for going to public school. As you know, you have certain vaccinations that are required. And if those go away, we're talking about an explosion of diseases and then preventable deaths from those diseases that could be devastating. That, as one of the policies of a broader set of policies, has been what have eliminated so many things that previously ravaged our lives in the country. And he just casually, as he does throughout this whole thing, goes, I don't know, maybe no mandates. Maybe no mandates.
Some of their jails are empty, and they will be empty soon if this ever continued. I spoke with the president of Mexico, and as you know, I spoke with Justin Trudeau of Canada, and we told them it's not fair, not right. You can't let these people come into our country. And they understand. They're very much on notice, and they're going to have to stop this from happening. They're going to have to stop it. We lose a lot of money to Mexico. We lose a lot of money to Canada, tremendous amount. We're subsidizing Canada. We're subsidizing Mexico. That can't go on. And I get along with the people of Mexico and Canada very well, but we can't let that happen. Why are we supporting and giving other countries hundreds of billions of dollars? It's not fair. It's not right. And the people of Mexico and Canada fully understand that.
So I guess when he's saying that, he's talking about, again, this is just an assumption because he's being not super specific, but I think he's just talking about when we do business. So then U.S. companies are buying stuff from them. Their companies are buying stuff from us. We're doing business. We're doing trade. And he's saying that any dollar that we spend buying stuff from Mexico or Canada is us sending money to them, which I think is oversimplifying the trade that goes on there. And there's always, as we've been reviewing, moves that the U.S. government will make, that they should make, to protect the citizens that it serves. And that's perfectly acceptable. What I know for certain is that Trump's simple-minded and broad, and then inappropriate and economically unviable plan to solve any problems in the United States economically with massive tariffs across all imports. I've heard some Trump supporters saying, but then over the long term, that'll do this and that, and this and that's going to be great. Just when the prices go up, I don't know. You told me that was the thing you were most concerned with. I'll check in with you then. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Support the show. Get the members only bonus show by clicking that join button below. We have a fun time on the bonus show, so you should join us.